Reporters not happy with the constant barrage of attacks that they get from Trump's White House. Of course, press secretary, the communications director, and the list goes on. And now, of course, the deputy White House press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And she was at it again. She took the first question from a Breitbart reporter. And shockingly enough, the Breitbart person in there decided that the Trump White House was awesome and CNN was terrible, and then they had these 3 CNN reporters who retracted a story and resigned and talked about that. Now, perfectly fair story to talk about overall, and since CNN did retract that story, they have invited a fair deal of criticism for that, for running the story in the first place. Now, if they're trying to correct it, that should be something that should be lauded and not criticized, but of course that's not how the Trump team is gonna go. Trump himself had already tweeted about, I knew it, it's fake news, and they should retract all of their stories. Well, you see, if they retracted the story, they're trying to do due diligence on it. That means that they actually do diligence on their stories, unlike your tweets, which apparently no one does diligence on. Now, this is the battle back and forth, and then one reporter finally can't take it anymore. It's Brian Karem, editor of the Montgomery County Sentinel. And so you'll see the deputy White House press secretary here, Sanders, first talking, and then Karem comes in, and they have a fun, juicy fight. Let's watch.
Just an absolute tirade from a lot of people in this room. But news outlets get to go on day after day and cite unnamed sources, use stories without sources, have, you mentioned the Scaramucci story where they had to have reporters resign.
Come on, you're inflaming everybody right here, right now with those words. This administration has done that as well. Why in the name of heavens? Any one of us, right, are replaceable, and any one of us, if we don't get it right, the audience has the opportunity to turn the channel or not read us.
I think
you have been elected to serve for 4 years at least. There's no option other than that. We're here to ask you questions.
Right.
We're here to provide the answers. And what you just did is inflammatory to people all over the country who look at it and say, see, once again, the president is right and everybody else out here is fake media. And everybody in this room is only trying to do their job.
First of all, I think if anything has been inflamed, it's the dishonesty that often takes place by the news media. And I think it is outrageous for you to accuse me of inflaming a story when I was simply trying to respond to his question.
My favorite part is at the end when she pretends to be outraged. She had just gotten done talking about a barrage of fake news about the news media. So she's telling everybody in the room there, you guys are all fake. You're phonies. You make up stuff. You're professional liars. That's what they mean by hoax, fake news. It's like they're not being subtle about it. And then so she goes around punching all of them in the face. And when they object, she goes, I am shocked and chagrined. I am just outraged that you would say that I'm inflaming things. I mean, I just said that you're all fakers and that the things that you write are all phony and lies. I don't know why you would say that that's inflaming anyone. How dare you accuse me of that? It's conservative 101. Punch someone in the face and when they go, wait, why did you punch me in the face? Say, I do declare. How uncivil of you to say that, to charge me with punching you in the face. It's because that's what you just did, it's on tape. We saw it. Now again, that's proverbial. Sometimes in Trump rallies, it's literal. In this case, she's been attacking them from day one. It's about time they fought back a little bit. I don't think that's that big a deal for Karem there to suggest that perhaps the media is accountable and CNN actually asking for those resignations and retracting the stories part of that accountability, whereas the White House appears to be accountable to no one. So my conclusion is that the press in this little tiny fight back is not doing enough. Good. I want to applaud Brian Karem for beginning to fight back a little bit, and everybody's like, wow, every once in a while Jim Acosta asks a tough question and a little bit here and there. The Trump White House is lying nonstop. So they'll inflame you and then say, how dare you accuse me of inflaming you within the same minute, let alone the hundreds of other prevarications that Trump and the press team have put out there. So yes, engage in that battle. You're supposed to be the watchdogs. You're not supposed to be lapdogs. So yes, we've seen it more from journalists in the Trump administration than we have in others. I wish they'd have been just as tough in a lot of ways on Obama and Bush. Now, if you say, hey, the Obama administration didn't lie anywhere near this level, you're absolutely right about that. But there was plenty to challenge the Obama administration on, but it was considered uncivil. There was far more to challenge the Bush administration on, but again, uncivil. But now that Trump is not part of the establishment, they're unleashed a little bit. But I think that they feel a little self-proud, but I think that they're barely hit the tip of the iceberg. So your job is to tell the American people what the reality is. Who cares if the Trump administration has their feelings hurt by it and they feel outraged by it? As a journalist, you should not care about that even 1%. Of course, the real reason that some of the people in that room care is because of access. Well, then you'll lose your precious access, which ironically leads me to my final point, where she complains about unnamed sources. Well, the Trump administration uses unnamed sources all the time. They are the unnamed sources. They're the anonymous sources. They'll leak to the press and say, now don't tell my name. And then they go out in front of the press and go, how dare you use anonymous sources? I can't believe it. You remember, Donald Trump is the guy who originally, before he became president, would sometimes call the press pretending to be John Miller or John Barron. These are made up names. And so for him to complain about sources that you're not really sure what their identity is, the height of irony. So you should throw out John Barron and John Miller in their face every time that they do it. And how much can you push people? You think that Sarah Huckabee Sanders isn't one of those anonymous sources? She's never been an anonymous source in any story. Sean Spicer hasn't been, Reince Priebus hasn't been, Steve Bannon hasn't been, Donald Trump hasn't been. There's no way that that's true. So please spare me the fake outrage, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. This is at best the beginning of a fight. It should be nowhere near the end of it. What's in TYT membership? Not gonna tell you. Only one way to find out. TYTnetwork.com/join.